Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Greetings and salutations on this Wednesday morning. I hope it is as beautiful of a morning for you as it is for me. The sun is shining, and if you don't know, that's all I need is a sunshine. So, thank you so much for tuning in this morning. For those of you who are joining us live, for those of you who will catch us afterwards, we hope you enjoy the energy and the time this morning. I am so excited to have Alex here with me today. Alex will introduce herself in a moment. I'm going to take a quick second and I'm going to text out to my people like, hey, we're live. Please join us. Alex, you feel free to do the same. We'll enjoy a few minutes of this tune.
Good.
Spring forward really got me too.
Oh, I know.
I'm like still trying to recover from the hour.
So confusing every time. And my kids, they just don't understand. So
I'm like the kids. I'm kind of like, why do we keep doing this? Because I don't think it really matters much, guys. But what do I know? Okay, so I've had a chance to send my bat signal out to folks. So hopefully we get a few more folks to join us live. And if not, I know this is earlier than we normally meet, guys. So it's totally fine. But I welcome you to share this conversation with folks that you know, that you love, that you feel like needs to hear and be a part of this conversation. Share it. Share and share the light. So again, good morning, beautiful people on this beautiful morning. My name is Tanisha Jointer. I am the founder of Invested Consulting Firm. And at Invested Consultant Firm, we support community partners and school districts across the country on trauma engaged and healing center practices. We provide customized training to folks, really wanting to ground and center where you're at and where you want to go in trauma and healing work and world. I am so excited to continue this kind of conversation series. For those of you who don't know, we started these conversations, my team and I came up with this idea during Black History Month, wanting to make sure we highlighted and elevated Black folks making history. We oftentimes think about history as this thing behind us, but there's so many of us that are making history right now and are looking forward. And so we wanted to keep the spirit of that work going and make sure that as we get full knee deep into Women's History Month, that I got an opportunity to sit down with some of the amazing women that I know and I have relationship with. And when I reached out to Alex, she was like, oh, absolutely, I would love to. So I am so honored, so thrilled to have Alex here with me. I'm gonna turn it over to Alex. I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna let Alex introduce herself and the wonderful organization that she is leading.
Well, thank you, Tanisha. I'm honored to be here. So thank you for the kind invitation. And I can't imagine a better way to spend my Wednesday morning than here with you. So this is this is really lovely. So I'm Alex Sorbo Quinn. I'm executive director of Pilot Light, which Tanisha is on our board of directors, but we were friends and colleagues long before that. Pilot Light is an organization focused on food education, and the way that we do that is different from any other across the country. We partner directly with classroom teachers, so K through 12 classroom teachers, and we support them in bringing food education to their students by supporting them in teaching through food. So in Pilot Light, they're teaching through food in math and reading and in history. And along the way, they're teaching about food and all aspects of it to support their students with the knowledge and skills to make informed food choices for themselves, for their families, for their communities, and for our food system as a whole. The organization is about 12 years old. I've been with it for just about 9 years now.
Oh, wow.
And it started in one school on the north side of Chicago, and now is in over 70 schools across the country. We have teachers all throughout Chicago, but also in all different communities, and in Gulf Shore, Alabama, and Arkansas, and New York City, and Oregon. So it's just been really exciting to see how our model can work for any classroom, any teacher, every student, and make food education a priority.
I absolutely love it. And for again, I'm gonna tell the story of how we met. Those of you who don't know, I wore many hats, but in my previous position, my manager said, "Hey, we got invited to go to this thing. This organization is creating these food standards, and they want someone from the SEL world, social emotional learning world, to come out and support." And at that time, I was on my own like fitness journey. I had lost like, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds. And I was just living my best life and understanding food in a very different way than how I'd understood it growing up. And I was so surprised that this organization was taking such a bold step, I felt like, in really creating these food and nutrition standards and aligning them, or someone I'll say aligning them to like social and emotional learning standards, and making sure that we were thinking about food and nutrition in this very holistic way, right? Not just about the food itself and the nutritional value of the food, but also the way that food connects us. Also, the way in which food can be used as this tool of learning. And I think it was in that moment, right, as I'm standing in this room representing the social and emotional learning world, and I'm in the room with chefs, and I'm in the room with educators, and I'm in the room with administrators, and I'm in the room with parents, and I'm in the room with community folks, and we're all coming together to create these standards, right? This kind of guide, this North Star for what this work could look like in classrooms. And I think that was my like aha moment of like, yes, I want to be a part of this. And then I literally stalked them. No, I didn't stalk them, y'all. But I definitely aggressively, maybe not that aggressive, but I definitely let my interests be known and wanting to support the work, because I just think it is such powerful work, and it can absolutely change the lives of generations, right? So I am very grateful to you all for just the work that you do as an organization, and even to be a part of the board to serve at this in this different capacity with the organization. So thank you all for inviting me into that space, because I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for being part of it. Your leadership and your voice has been such an incredible part of our growth, from the food standards, but now more formally on our board. And in describing the standards, you hit the nail on the head. I think, we're an organization Pilot was founded by chefs, and they always say, food connects us. Food is this shared language, and what they bring into their restaurants, they really wanted to build into the experience for youth across the country. And what we faced as an organization in early days was when we went in to schools and to partnerships, we were always met with, oh, you're going to teach nutrition and you're going to teach, culinary skills. And we would always say, well, yes, and and what the standards really allowed us to do was to define that, to your point, Tanisha, holistically, to do it from a place of a judgment-free place. There's no good or bad foods. Let's learn about foods. Let's use that knowledge to make informed, to make different choices. And the standards have also just really proven to be this beautiful framework to support teachers and integrating into any content area, and just making it part of that learning experience that, unfortunately, I look back, I had a home ec when I was a kid. Home careers. I remember some spotty nutrition education, but nothing really formal, nothing that I experienced throughout my schooling. And I know that experience is unfortunately still the same for students today. So the standards provide that sort of foundation to bring food education into schools more formally that we really need, because we all eat. Like, we should have that information.
Right.
It's just as important as every other subject. And the beauty is that through our model and by teaching through food, we're really supporting schools and teachers as well, because students are more engaged in content. They're excited because they're writing poetry in English about their food experiences from their youth, or they're in a science lesson on emulsification and making dressings. And there's 1,000 examples that we could pull out of how food in the classroom has engaged and excited students. But yeah, it's really that the standards make it possible, which has been a really exciting tool for a young organization and a growing organization like ourselves.
So before we get into just the questions on you, right, celebrating you, I want to make sure that I say this. One, for any of you all who are educators, principals, school district leaders, I want you to check out Pilot Light. I want you to ask yourself if you have the readiness and the capacity and the desire even to change the way that we are introducing learning, teaching and learning to our students and to our teachers. Because I think so many, I had the pleasure of training some of their educators, and they are such a great bunch. And they are so curious about how to grow in their profession, and also just recognizing the impact that the food that Pilot Light is really bringing into their children's lives and into the lives of their family. So for those of you who are in education, maybe you're a parent, maybe you are an educator, please share this video with other folks in your network, because we want people to, one, just raise awareness and know what's out there, and then two, really want to encourage us all to really reimagine how we're educating our students. I ask this question a lot in my training with school districts is, what are we educating them for? Like, what is it that we really want our young people to do and know? And one thing, to Alex's point, everybody got to eat. So if nothing else, we want them to have an understanding of food, where it comes from, and recognize the power in food. And we can do that across all content areas. So again, I say, if you are an educator, if you are a principal, a school leader, district leader, please share this video. Please check out Pilot Light. Alex, can you tell people how they can find out more about Pilot Light?
Sure. Well, thank you for that, Tanisha. You can go to our website. It's pilotlightchefs.org, or follow us. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And our handles on all of those are at Pilot Light Chefs. And I can also drop it in the chat here.
Okay.
Show up for folks.
So again, guys, if you are not, please do make sure you're following Pilot Light. They're doing some amazing work. And you can definitely check out some of the videos and publications about the work and about the organization. And if you're not following me, I am at Invest Consultant Firm on Instagram, just so you know. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I don't know my LinkedIn. Sorry. Okay. So now I want to pivot a bit and just talk about you. And I mean, you are the executive director of this amazing organization. You are touching countless number of young people, and not even just the young people, because again, I want to make sure that this is clear. Like, when we are teaching through food, we are not only supporting that young person, but we are supporting that young person. We're supporting their family. And at some point, we are even impacting the community at large, right? And so this is really groundbreaking work, and you all have such a massive reach, even if we're not tracking all of that reach, right? But you are a young person in this role, 9 years with this organization. This is still a very young organization, and 9 years in the game. Wanted to just pick your brain on, how did you get here? How did you get to this work? What called you to Pilot Light?
Yeah, I love this story because I've realized there's such a thread throughout, which sometimes you don't realize until you look back on things. But when I was in college, I was a math major, which, if you know me now, that might be surprising. But I took a medical anthropology course as a requirement, and my professor was a reproductive anthropologist and an epidemiologist, and she talked all about the field of public health, which 15, 20 years ago, that was public health wasn't what it was today. People didn't know about it, or especially since the pandemic. But I remember whenever I told folks that was what I was interested in, a lot of times people would say, well, what is public health? And so I mean, it's just amazing how much that has changed. But yeah, I fell in love with it, and I changed my major to anthropology. And I graduated and went straight. I got my master's in epidemiology. And when I finished my master's, epidemiology is really sort of data and stats focused. And my first job was at Harlem Hospital in New York City, and I was hired to manage their stroke center, and basically to be tracking data throughout the hospital around stroke care and treatment. And we were an official stroke center, and we had to meet these different guidelines and benchmarks from New York State. And one of them was to be providing stroke education to the larger community. And at the time, my boss, he was his name's Jude Williams, Dr. Jude Williams. He's a neurologist, and he was friends with Dougie Fresh, the hip hop artist. And Dougie and his family lived down the street from the hospital. Their kids went to New York City public schools. And my boss and Dougie came up with this model of, it was called Hip Hop Stroke. And it was basically teaching students in schools about the signs and symptoms of stroke.
Nice.
Calling 911 and doing it all through hip hop music and culture, and really making it memorable, making it stick, and giving the students tools to teach their families at home what they'd learned. So it was very much a trainer model focused on 3rd through 5th graders, and arming them to go and talk to their parents and grandparents. Like, this is what you need to know. This is what we need to do. We collected a lot of data around this program and just saw that it worked. And we ended up getting federal funding to grow it throughout New York City, which was really exciting. And at the same time, expanded our operations we were at Harlem Hospital and also Columbia Presbyterian in Washington Heights in New York. So we have this growing movement around the arts in hip hop music, and using it as a tool to teach and to engage young people. So you see where I'm going with this.
Yes.
But we realized that the model was so powerful. We started an organization called Hip Hop Public Health. Anybody who's watching, you can go check it out. It's I think it's hhph.org. And they are doing incredible work harnessing media and hip hop to address health equity. The work has really expanded to touch on nutrition and physical activity, and really all sorts of strategies to prevent chronic disease. So incredible work, exciting work, but life takes you in different directions. And I got married, and my husband's from Chicago, and I was, we moved here, and I was really sad to even leave that role because I loved it so much. But I was poking around online one night, and I found this post for an executive director position at Pilot Light. And what I loved so much about it was, first of all, the chef founded aspect of it, and that I really believe, my background's in health education and public health. I think that the most powerful strategies to reach communities and folks with health education is when we bring in multidisciplinary teams, and we think about in this case, hip hop artists, chefs, artists, creative folks, physicians, teachers. It's really so much more powerful when there's many different voices and different experiences and expertise. And so I read this, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. And in that it was in the classroom and with teachers was even more exciting to me, because it seemed like such an incredible opportunity to be thinking about how you align with academic standards, and how by really saturating classrooms, we can reach a much wider audience with this essential information. So that set the path for me. And fortunately, I got it, and I got the role, and it's been an incredible 9 years, and really an honor. And we've just had, we have so many incredible team members today and along the way who have contributed to our growth and in formalizing our model. It's changed over the years, but where we are right now, and in the ways in which we work with teachers and support them, is It's scalable. Again, I said this earlier. It's different from anything across the country, and it's just such an essential model that should be in every classroom. And we're excited about the possibilities to continue to grow it throughout Chicago and beyond.
I'm like, I have so many questions. I have so many questions. I'm like, what hip hop and public health? Like, what I just crazy mashup, right? Like, and it makes so much sense. But I
Mhm.
also see food and education, right? And it being such a crazy kind of mashup, and again, it just fits and it makes sense. So that is really cool. That is a lot of just interesting experience. When I was in college, I took my first anthropology class, and I was like, oh my god, I want to do this, right? I just was so like, this is so cool to just study people and culture and things. And I like, do you know if you remember National Geographic had that show Taboo? And it basically like talked about all of the different like cultures and subcultures of, I was just obsessed with anthropology for quite a while, but I refused to change my major at that point. I was like, I am already at the finish line. I will not do it. But I have
At the
now
time, the reactions I got from people when I switched from math to anthropology was like, what?
definitely a completely different end of the spectrum. But
Yeah.
I was like, my mama gonna kill me. Like, let me ride this out. Let me get through this, because if I change this major now, she gonna be like, girl. Uh, so shout out to young people who are in school and who are unafraid to change a major, unafraid to change course, unafraid
Mhm.
to pivot. Um, Pivots are
Mhm.
necessary.
Mhm.
Pivots can be the most amazing thing in your life.
Yeah.
So big nugget here is, don't be afraid to pivot.
And, and
'Cause
and when you find something you love, especially when you just think I could do this every day, all day, this is so exciting, that's a sign. Because even if you're thinking about what are the job possibilities or what could this look like, if it is something you know that you're excited about, you'll find them and people will find you.
you know what? I small pivot, right? Because I love that point. And it's funny that you say that, because I feel like that's been a part of every conversation that I've been having lately in this platform.
Mhm.
My last 3 or 4 guests talked about surrendering, right? And just this idea of just surrendering to, you know, it all, right? I'm just gonna let go and I'm gonna do what I love. I'm going to follow the path. I'm going to confront this thing. I'm going to do whatever. But I think that's again just, that's something that just keeps coming up and out, is this like being willing to um follow your dreams, right? To identify your passion, to run to it as opposed to run from it. And I think that that is the greatest gift that we can give young people. I think that is the greatest gift we can give young children, is to create space for them to always be curious, to continue to grow and enhance their imagination, and to find their passion. I remember in grad school, first day of grad school of all things, and I was getting MSW. So, they want to bring in all these folks who have already done completed the MSW program. And they was like, so here's the thing, y'all ain't gonna make no money. And I was like, what? And it was like, yeah, at best you're gonna make $33,000 a year. And I was ready to drop out right then and there, right? And then I got to the space where I really stopped worrying about the money. I existed in, what is my passion? What is my purpose? How am I serving? And the one thing that I will say again, just to young people, to folks transitioning in careers, when you do what you love, the money will come. If you wake up every day and you love this thing and you are doing it with the joy, if you are doing this from a place of love and compassion, trust you me, the money will come. So walking in your purpose, doing things with purpose, doing what you love, is definitely another huge nugget, a huge gem. So thank you so much, Alex, for kind of elevating that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's freezing for a second. I agree. And I mean, I think too, if you're doing what you love, even if it's not the most lucrative field or, you still come home with that satisfaction. I know a lot of people who make tons of money and they don't like what they do, and that just sounds awful to me. So, I mean, the money must be nice, but yeah, I mean, especially, and for anybody interested in nonprofit or social work or public health, like to be doing, I mean, you've got to look into yourself. If you keep using the phrase, Tanisha, I do this to serve, and I feel the same way. Like you've got to connect to your mission, and for me, and what it is, for Pilot Light, what it's all about. I could talk about it all day long, and it's like, I just believe in it. I love it. I've seen the impact in hundreds of classrooms over the years. And, that gives me, even though my role has shifted and I'm not so much the one in classrooms and schools anymore, it's given me so much of a, just kind of a buoy in terms of what it is I do every day. And even if it's something, there's a lot of things I do every day that maybe I don't love, and lots of, administrative things and things like that. But it's always like, oh wait, but it's coming back to the mission. Like it is making an impact. It is, at the end of the day, it's making it all possible. And that is such a light for me. And again, like in this nonprofit, public service kind of space, if that's your jam and that's what you want to do, yeah, you will carry that with you and make it, part of what brings you to the screen every day, or what brings you out into the community.
I love it. Pivot a little bit. Who do you find to be your greatest influence in this work? Like what? Yeah, who? Maybe who or what is your greatest influence in this work?
Well, there's a lot of influences. I think kind of who's influenced me are kind of the people who came before me. My one grandmother grew up on a farm. My other grandmother, her first role out of high school, she worked in the nutrition department at a hospital, and then went on to do substitute teaching and volunteering in schools, even up until she was in her late 70s. So that sort of the presence of food and also public service in their lives has become part of me. But of course, also my parents, and my mom is incredibly creative and loving it, and food was so much a part of my youth. But my father was also an entrepreneur, and I think that entrepreneurial spirit comes through, and has that interest in kind of building things comes from him. So yeah, that my family and the people from every day.
I love it. Just yesterday, I was with my mom and I was doing this like almost family tree type of conversation with her. But instead of like just asking who people were, I actually was asking her what people did. And my grandma, come to find out, was a cook. I'm like, she ain't teach me how to cook nothing, but okay. But my grandma was a cook, and my mother's father was a butcher. And so just again, when we take opportunities to like unpack and learn from our people and about our people, right? Like it was like, that's pretty cool. Like, and then my aunt owned a business, and my other aunt was my great grandmother was a midwife, and again, that idea of service and how that kind of goes down the line to care for people in that way. So I'm glad to hear that it comes from a family tree.
Yeah, we do these icebreakers all the time at Pilot Light, where we ask folks about their favorite food memories. And thanks to my family, it's been so easy for me to pull just all these little stories and nuggets. And I love hearing those stories from the teachers we work with, and then seeing them also come out in student work is just really lovely, because you see how much food is just so much a part of you. It's a part of your identity. And I hope I'm creating that same experience for my own kids. Sometimes it can, I come away like, did they eat anything tonight? What's this all about? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it is an amazing, it's been amazing kind of trying to do that and keep that in mind for them and their limited attention span. But but yeah, it's just I'm so grateful to them that I have these stories of picking peas in the garden in June and making spaghetti sauce and just I cherish them and they come up for me all the time because of the work that I do.
Before we go jumping back into talking about pilot, one more question for you.
Mhm.
Just a wondering, because I'm thinking about like we're celebrating women's history, and I'm asking women about their profession. But just one more question, I guess, about you personally.
Mhm.
So you mentioned being a mom, you mentioned being a wife, you mentioned being a daughter, an executive director, and all of these many hats. I guess the question is crazy, but how do you manage it all? How do you juggle it all?
I don't think I do, Tanisha. I mean, it's I think I've seen some memes about this, where it gives me a chuckle, like, oh, everybody's in the same boat, but it's sort of this experience of like all the balls being thrown at you, and you're trying to catch them, and you can't catch them all, so you're gonna drop them. But I heard somebody gave me this advice. It was like knowing which balls are glass and
Mm,
can't drop, and letting the others fall. So, I mean,
nice.
it's something, each week there's going to be the balls that drop, but knowing which ones can and which ones, like for instance, I'm volunteering at my son's school at the lunch period on Friday, and he's so excited about this. That's a glass ball. I cannot drop that ball. But there's other things this week that if the laundry's not done or whatever, that's
Mhm.
fine. Like we'll all survive. We'll be fine. So, but yeah, it's not easy, and but everybody has so much going on, and I think that's you know I think when there's all different types of caretaking.
Mhm.
There's your friendships, there's relationships with parents, with other relatives, and I think even if you come into conversations and like, oh, I think a lot of times when people hear I have 3 little kids, they're like, oh my gosh, but I always want to say, but I know all of you have so many things on your plates, and so many things that are on your minds, and I think it's um yeah, it's all everybody's going through these same experiences. So I guess that's kind of the heart of what I want to say. I always remember, motherhood is a lot, but there's a million other experiences and relationships that people have that are demanding of their time as well. So, um,
Do you find because what I felt like I heard you say was one like prioritization, right? Like how do I prioritize these things, right? How do I
mhm,
catch for sure catch or hold those glass balls, right? And how do
mhm.
I let these other ones like fall? And I heard grace, right? Because we have to extend some grace and some kindness to ourselves when another ball falls or drops or whatever it does, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then I felt like you were talking about like relationships, and I'm wondering, even in your personal life, wearing so many hats, um, is that something that you are prioritizing, like maintaining and feeding relationships with people?
Well, yes. I mean, I think what I'm an introvert. I'm somebody who I definitely need to be alone and in a dark room to recover from things. But I think I've realized is that relationships and getting out there, it fuels me, especially during the pandemic, and coming out of that. I've like so many others, I think I've just seen it and placed new importance on that. So,
Mhm,
unfortunately, I'm in a role where I get to meet with people all the time and new people.
mhm,
I love that. I love, finding out I love asking people about themselves and finding out all about other people. But in terms of the relationships I hold closest, I'm lucky to have a group of girlfriends, and of course my family. I don't think a day goes by that I don't call up my family and talk to them. And my husband, my kids, my in-laws live 3 blocks away. So
you.
yeah, I'm lucky to be surrounded by a lot of love and but yeah, love building and creating new relationships as well.
I love it. I'm like an introvert. I had no idea. I'm like, I've seen you in action. I've seen you in social. And I'm like, I definitely would not have picked introvert at all, but okay. And I love that, like, sometimes we can get wrapped up in our professions, in our, one position or another, and forget or neglect. I'm not gonna say neglect, but sometimes push other relationships to the side. So if I'm hearing you correct, like making sure that you are maintaining all of these relationships and connections with folks is creating just some value and joy in your day to day. And
Yeah,
I'm happy to
and
hear that.
and finding those people who know if you're not in touch for some reason, it's not because you don't love them. It's because life is crazy, and yeah, and finding those people who can give you that levity to do what you
Absolutely.
need to do at any given time.
Absolutely. I got a friend. We've been friends since, I want to say, freshman year of high school. We can go for months, we can go for weeks, we can go for years without speaking. But we will pick up the phone and we will be like, hey, girl, we'll give this whole long 30, 40 minutes of catching up. And it's just like we were just talking to each other the day before,
Mhm.
right? So being able to have those friendships is absolutely correct. And even professional relationships, right? Like, I hope I still have people in my phone that, like, we haven't worked together in a while, but because when we were together, that relationship was nurtured and poured into in such a way that I could pick
Mhm.
up the phone and call them like, hey, I need, and they like, got you, no problem.
Yeah,
So nugget people, relationship.
relationship.
Be
Yeah.
intentional and building, keeping, maintaining relationships.
Yeah, and also know when you can let one go. I think that's, sometimes you don't. There's points that you just have to move on, but
Yeah.
but on that point around high school friends, it always amazes me. It's just such, or people that you grew up with, when you have those conversations with them again, like you just know each other on such a different level than you know everybody else, and it's like you can be yourself
You.
amongst those people in a way that
Mhm.
people don't know you.
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain it, but every time I come out of one of those conversations, I'm just like, that was awesome. And it's like you can't just pick it up, even if it's like 20 years later, you can just pick it back up. And
I
um,
know exactly I know what you're saying, and you're not like, I get it. I
mhm,
absolutely understand that. And I also love that you mentioned, like, knowing when to let go of relationships. I say this all the time. Everybody can't go where you going.
mhm,
And sometimes you got to be willing to let go of some people so you can get to where you need to go, where you need to arrive. So
mhm.
I definitely love that you brought that up too. So again, nugget. Um, Okay. Because I want to make sure that I respect your time, but I also want to talk a little bit more about Pilot Light. Um, when you think about Pilot Light, what is your greatest hope, wish, desire for Pilot Light as the executive director?
Yeah, well, I think I've said it a few times on here. I want to see it in every classroom. The impact of the program is so incredible, so beautiful. Every classroom we've seen it in,
Mhm.
the teacher, we've had a teacher who said recently, once I've seen this, I can't unsee it. And
Mhm.
during the pandemic, even in virtual learning, so many of our educators said, when we were doing Pilot Light, the screens went on, and folks were engaged and families were
Oh,
engaged.
I'm
And
sure.
it's, I'm so excited because we are in a growth phase, and just thinking about the many more educators and classrooms and students and families that will reach through that. But again, I think it's an essential model for every classroom across the country, and we've seen that, like I said earlier, we've seen that it can work in every classroom, every content area, every grade level, every type of community, rural, urban, suburban, different regions throughout the country. And the model of partnering with educators, with teachers, is so
Mhm.
important because um, the teachers know their students. They know the communities that they're in. The students trust them in a way that they don't when somebody they don't know from outside of the school building comes
Absolutely.
in. So just seeing what that looks like in practice, it's so impactful because that trust is there. It's so impactful because it's meeting students where they are, and it's impactful because the teachers can look to opportunities within the school building and beyond to create new experiences that they can harness to support learning in their classrooms. So, for instance, we had a teacher last year who worked with the management at her school to rehab their greenhouse and to start using it again. We've had other teachers build gardens, invigorate their gardens, and use those to support learning. Teachers who have connected with in community chefs, with other organizations, and done field trips and brought those guests into their classrooms. And it's just so amazing to see it in practice. And I look back, I just wish I'd had an experience like that. But I have talked to students who were in Pilot Light a decade ago. They still remember it. They remember those specific lessons they learned. They remember the guests that came into their classrooms. And it just kind of comes back to what we were talking about earlier, food. And the arts as a whole, they make it sticky, they make it memorable. It's just such an incredible tool. And the beautiful thing about food is along the way, you're really coming away with a life skill that can support you every day in every situation and help you better understand yourself.
And what do you say to the teachers or the principals or district leaders even who say, well, our teachers are doing enough. We can't have them do one more thing.
Well, that does happen. Unfortunately.
This was for a long time. I know that happens.
But it comes back to, first of all, by our standards, by hooking it into connecting to Common Core, connecting to what's already happening in the classroom. It's supporting teachers and their goals. It's giving them a tool to engage students. But beyond that, again, it's just like, so where else are your students learning about food? Where else are they making these connections? And to what we've been talking about through this, beyond academics, you can connect to social and emotional learning. You can connect to advocacy and civic engagement. We've seen aspects of workforce development in the program. Students learn about new careers. They learn, new pathways. It's so incredible when we find those administrators who are on board. It's wonderful. We have found the most success when we work directly with teachers and we reach out directly to teachers and support teachers and give them the tools to bring it into their own classrooms and schools.
And I don't know, can you speak to this just a little bit though, about Pilot Light and its connection to the community, right? Or that there's an opportunity to connect to community. I recall one of the school sites in Chicago that we visited. I always talk about this, and there was an elderly guy who was tending to the school garden, and just the joy that he had, this senior in the community, to be able to be connected to the earth and to this project that was serving kids in this school. And so for the educators who are participating, knowing that there is this beautiful opportunity to invest, to engage, probably even some of your caretakers, as well as just the community. And I don't know if you can speak to that just a little bit, but like the power of Pilot, again, it's not just what's in the classroom too, but that there's opportunities outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And, our food education fellowship, it's a program that supports teacher leaders in integrating food education into their classrooms on a weekly basis. And our team works closely with them to support them in making those connections. So, a lot of it, we really invest in making sure it's student and teacher led. So what is it you want to do? What issues do you care about? What connections are already there in the communities? And then we directly support teachers in making that outreach and figuring out what, for instance, an advocacy project in the classroom might look like, what it might look like to have a local chef in. School gardens are always such an exciting resource because, first of all, a lot of schools have them and haven't manage them over the years. They haven't kept them up. Sometimes you see them and there's a lot of strawberries and mint planted in them because you don't really have
Mhm.
to do a lot of work. um, it's been really exciting when teachers in our program have said, "Oh, I want to invest in the garden. I want to connect it into learning." They work with their students, maybe in geometry lessons or something, to kind of map out the garden, figure out what they're going to plant. Then when spring comes, it's challenging in Chicago because we have the winter months, unfortunately, but it's been cool to see teachers sort of start in the fall. Like, this is what our garden's going to look like. This is how we're going to build it. Then they do the planting and then harvesting, and it really can be a year-long project. But yeah, and to your point, there's so many opportunities within that to connect to the community. We've had classrooms, they were having issues with their garden being vandalized, and folks in the community not taking care of it. So the students made signs of, like, this is our garden. Please care for it. We had another class host their own farmers market for the community with what they'd harvested and other materials and that they'd collected. So, and of course that tied in opportunities to learn about, running a business and the financials, and that financial literacy aspect was really exciting to see. So yeah, it can go in so many different directions, but when that, by having the teacher led model and having it really tie to what the students, what the families, what the teachers are invested in and what they care about, it's just it's proven to be such a compelling way to make those connections and to support students and having experiences that we know they'll carry with them and that they'll share with their families at home. So our hope and dream is that every classroom makes food education part of learning, but also that those connections are being made so that it is really a whole school community. It's a culture of food education.
Yes.
And again, it's beautiful when it does happen, and it happens all the time. So it's really wonderful to see.
I have like 7 questions, but we have like a little over 10 minutes, so I'm not gonna go down all my 7 questions. I will start with this question though. I know the big picture is we want to see Pilot Light in all schools across the country. But thinking of our baby steps, what do you see for Pilot Light in the next, I don't know, 1 to 3 years? What do you see for Pilot Light?
Great question. Well, we mentioned we have an incredible team, and they have really been developing new programs and growing our existing programs in all sorts of wonderful ways. In particular, one of our new programs, it's called Snack Time Explorers. And it was developed through an industry partnership with a company called Fresh Health. They do fresh cut fruits and vegetables. And one of the programs they provide to is this program called the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program through the USDA. A lot of people don't know about it, but basically it's earmarked in the Farm Bill. It's fresh cut fruits and vegetables that go out to classrooms in low-income communities throughout the United States. And what's wonderful, they're just being delivered. And through this partnership with Fresh Health, we've developed this Snack Time Explorers program, which provides teachers with an opportunity to teach about those fresh cut fruits and vegetables. So whether it's watermelon radishes or baby carrots or blueberries or star fruit, the students are sort of led through these activities to learn more about what it is they're eating, to ask questions, and they're also, of course, they're trying them, and that educational component is so key toward increasing curiosity and ultimately consumption, which is the goal of the program. So with that program being national, it's really exciting in the sense that it's opening up all sorts of doors for us in terms of growth of our program and raising awareness of district schools and teachers of Pilot Light and of this model and what it is. So really looking to that as an opportunity and as a stepping stone for deeper engagement from teachers within our program. I also talked about our food education standards, which we are really working to make that a national model for education. We've had really incredible conversations, both here in the state of Illinois and then also at the federal level about that. We actually, a couple of weeks ago, we were on the Hill advocating for the fresh fruit and vegetable program, for our food education standards, and just to hear the response from lawmakers and offices on both sides of the aisle was wonderful, because everybody agrees that this is essential information that we all need. So there's so much possibility in terms of that 1 to 3 years in baby steps. I think looking to these smaller programs to grow interest and awareness of Pilot Light in our model, and to bring it into classrooms by hooking it into food that's already in a school building that teachers can be harnessing to teach is an exciting path for us. And then further looking to this policy space and how we create awareness and investment at city, state, national levels, so that our food standards are really an essential sort of framework for what this looks like. And, looking to that for how we bring on more teachers in schools to this model, and making our standards, but also all of the lessons and the curriculum that we have, a resource to support implementation. And I should add, we have a platform. It's called the Food Education Center. And I think we have about 145 lessons there for teachers and also families that you can pick up and use for free. So definitely check that out on our website.
And then there's the Paprika.
Paprika is our puppy mascot.
Super cute.
Super cute. We have a video series that we did with WTTW, which is our local PBS station here in Chicago. We did it during the pandemic. It was a series of interstitials, so it sort of aired like commercials between Daniel Tiger and Wild Kratts, and it entered so many households throughout the Chicago area. It was designed for a preschool audience, but with Snack Time Explorers in particular, we've been harnessing that mascot and Paprika to be the messenger and kind of like, to make it extra exciting for students that we're supporting with the program. So
I love Paprika. I was like, I want a little plush one because he's just so cute. When I was like, oh my God, this is so cute.
The first time I've ever been involved in developing a mascot and a critter. It was really fun. And my colleague, Katie, she came up with the name Paprika based off of paprika, but Paprika. And he's got a little apron. He's really cute. Or he or she, we don't know.
Yes. So really quick, wanted to piggyback off that school snack program. When one of my schools that I worked in, we actually participated in a full snack program, and it was such a beautiful opportunity. But I think had we had a program like Pilot Light, I think it really could have elevated that moment, because we just, got these snacks dumped there, and it was just like this, all right, snack time, everybody eat, right?
Yeah.
But had there been some type of lesson, some curricula, some conversation even about the fruit, right? About the vegetable, about how we can prepare, about other ways that we can season it, enhance it, etc. I think it really could have been 15, 30 times more powerful, because it was not, to me, it's not enough just to like, let me just give you this thing and you have no idea what to do with it. But like, let's have some dialogue and some exchange about it, and some conversation about it. And so I am just so excited to know that you all are creating that space for educators to have that conversation, to really make that a deeper connection to the fruits and vegetables that that kind of snack program provides. So big up to you all for really creating that space for educators.
kudos goes to my colleague, Eileen Torpy and the folks at Fresh Health. It's really, we, in terms of it's so great that you've seen it in action. Like I said, most people don't know what it is, but it's been this incredible opportunity for us to have a solution for, if the goal is consumption, there has to be some education around it. And it's been really exciting to be able to offer something that it's really designed to be these quick sort of nuggets, these educational moments in the classroom that support students in really thinking, and building that understanding of what it is they're eating and giving them the opportunity to ask questions. And we're really excited about the possibilities for it. We've been piloting it this year in Chicago Public Schools, and next year we're expanding it to 2 more districts. I can't say which ones they are yet, but it'll be a rural and an urban district. So we'll be able to see what this model looks like in different contexts, and continue to collect data and learn from it and iterate and further expansion. But our goal is to make it a resource that's available to every teacher across the country who has this program. And really we're making equity our top priority as we continue to grow and expand it.
I love it. So, okay, I'm looking at time. I got less than 5 minutes. But I have 2 more questions, so I hope we can get these 2, at least 2.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest questions is, who would you like to partner with, right? If there is somebody who is listening, tuning in, that connect us outside of school districts, right? Because we know that's the big goal. I want to get this at every school. But outside of the school community, who would you like to partner with? Who do you think could be a good partner to Pilot Life?
Yeah, I see an opportunity for us in looking at teacher training, whether it's in graduate school or continuing education opportunities, but really to arm teachers, during those moments of education, especially for to have it in graduate schools when teachers are being trained and really thinking, in all of the information that they're collecting during that time is informing their practice down the line. I see that as being really powerful, whether it's with an NEA type organization or a university system. That would be exciting for us in terms of growth.
I love that. As a board member, one of the ways that I would love us to partner is with lunch staff across the country, just supporting and educating lunch staff on their role in supporting trauma and trauma responses. I think that was my biggest thing, like coming to the board, like, I want us to own this. Like, we need to address this, because I think food insecurity as a trauma is something that we don't talk enough about. And we can oftentimes minimize it, and we, look at it from the lens of the outward behavior of students. But I think really invest in time, energy, and effort. And again, as the board member, this is definitely the area that I would love to lead and champion for us as an organization, is around how do we create space of learning for food and nutrition staff in schools, just to make sure that they are equipped with all the tools to support trauma and experience of trauma by our students and staff.
I love that so much. And you told this story, Tanisha, when you came and presented at one of our professional developments, of how the school food professional handing the apple as an example to that student, that might be the only person showing them love that day. And that has stuck with me. And, beyond that, it's food in every building. I think one of the challenges that any organization working in this space runs up against are different policies and around food. So the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program is a great opportunity, school gardens, school food, and really forging those connections between the teachers and the school food staff, and making that a holistic learning experience for students. One of our chefs always says, the cafeteria should be an extension of the classroom. It is a classroom. It's a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
So how do we formalize those connections? I should mention we have a program called Classrooms to Cafeterias. So if anybody listening is interested in learning more about that, we can share that with you. But yeah, formalizing those connections and in many ways too, elevating the role of the school food professional and in the sense
Mhm.
that investing in them and formalizing
Mhm.
part of this program because from what I've heard and understood, a lot of times there isn't as much investment in folks in that space. And to your point, it's such a critical role in a student's experience and in their lives and in their daily lives. And
Absolutely.
looking to, yeah, food education and these professional development opportunities to really pull that through, but also make these connections that we're talking about through food education, but also trauma and social emotional learning and thinking about how these all tie together to best support our students.
I love it. So anybody out there that's listening, this is what we want to do. Who do you know? Connect us. Who do you know? Connect us to who you think you know, who you think may know somebody. Connect us. You can, again, my name is Tanisha Jointer, and you can follow me at Invested Consulting Firm on Instagram. You can also check us out at www.investedconsultantfirm.com. Alex, thank you so much for this conversation today. It is a pleasure to work with you as a board member. It is a pleasure to be a friend. It is just a pleasure to know you. And thank you so much for trusting me to be on this growth journey with you and Pilot Light as an organization. It is truly a pleasure and a privilege to serve with you all. So thank you so much for that. Before we get out of here, Alex, I'm going to ask you to close us out with how can people support, follow, connect with Pilot Light, and final words will be on you. Thanking you in advance, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to turn it over to Alex.
Well, thank you, Tanisha. It's been an honor to be here. Yeah, I am so grateful for everything that you do, for your leadership in Pilot Light, for your friendship. I adore you. I'm so glad to be in this space with you this morning. This has been, I'm sure, the highlight of my day. And thank you for the opportunity to share about Pilot Light as well. For everybody looking to get involved, our website is pilotlightchefs.org. You can follow us at Pilot Light Chefs. Being an organization founded by chefs who have lots of incredible events that happen throughout the year. Actually, tomorrow night, we have a trivia night at Polly G's led by our associate board. So if you're following us on social, if you're signed up for our newsletter, you will hear all about this. And I'll also put my email in the chat if anybody wants to reach out and connect with me directly. I'd be happy to talk with you about other options. And of course, we are a nonprofit, so I'd be remiss not to say that we're always looking for donations. So you can also find a link to donate on our website in the top right-hand corner.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It has been my pleasure to spend my morning with you. Thank you so much. Everybody, have a great day. Get out here and enjoy some of this sunshine.
Thank you.